Hello and welcome to the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Mike Shamil.
And I'm Devin Mullen.
And our guest today is Megan. Megan, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me, Mike and Devin.
Thank you for coming on the show. I just wanted to start off a little bit with your first EP, Pretty Girl. You had produced it had a lot of acoustic elements in it. You had songs that varied from love and romance to even some more darker tunes. There was a song where you sang about abusive relationships. What was the inspiration for that?
So where that came from, my song Melissa, my friends, unfortunately, quite a few of my friends have been through emotionally abusive relationships, verbally abusive relationships. You know, they were with partners who would constantly put them down. Each time they would feel good about themselves, they would just be crushed. And I noticed it wasn't a male thing. It wasn't a female thing. It wasn't an agender thing. All around the spectrum, my friends dealt with these terrible relationships. So I wrote the song Melissa to stand in alliance with them, to help them, to make them feel something within themselves that they can listen to it and they can be like, I can relate to that. You know, I've had members of my family and lots of friends come up to me saying that they love that song because there was a point in their life where they were too afraid to speak up about what happened to them, or they were too afraid to tell anybody how they felt. And it kind of inspired them to, you know, be within their truth. Yeah, and search for happiness afterwards. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. When I first came across that song, I hadn't listened to your EP yet. I was just starting to check out your music, and I had watched your performance with Buffalo Rising down at the Market Arcade and thought, wow. You know, it started off with your single East Side, and you know, you had a really kind of fun vibe.
Actually, East Side wasn't released quite yet. So I think East Side was released like 6 months after that.
Okay, my bad.
I think no, you're fine. I think it started with, oh my gosh. It started with Tonight.
Tonight, yes.
It started with Tonight, then it went into You Are the One, and then Melissa.
Yes, that's correct. And I was like, wow, like as the camera kind of zoomed in on you and some of the more, hard-hitting lyrics in the song, I was like, wow, this is a really strong performance. And it was kind of recorded when, you know, there wasn't as much live music being played. And I was like, wow, that's really cool to see someone deliver that on camera, especially when you've only been playing out for a couple of years. Isn't that right?
Yes, that is right. Thank you so much for that compliment, by the way, Mike. It means a lot to me that people really enjoy that performance. I was so nervous that night because I didn't have that much experience within live performing yet outside of like church and school. And I remember I got in a special outfit for it, but I put it on and it kind of looked like a black garbage bag. And I was freaking out because it was like an hour before. And I had to find something else to wear. And I had like a blonde wig. And it didn't look right, so I had to put a hat on it. So I was like in freak out mode when I was singing those songs. So luckily the reception was super positive and super sweet, and everybody with Buffalo Rising. Shout out to Devin Chavan, the videographer for the night. He was just the sweetest angel human being you'll ever meet in your life, and he just made me feel so comfortable. And shout out to 832 Productions, my accompanying band that night, because everybody really pulled through.
They were fantastic, and they sounded good.
They are amazing, yes.
Now, fast forward to your current projects. How has all your experience during the first year or so of performing, you know, set things up for today?
So I feel as though I'm in a lot better of a mind space than I was when I first started performing. You know, I went through some personal family tragedy. So when I first started performing, I was still building that confidence, you know, building my self-esteem back up and building myself out of the fears of the world. You know, I was more fearful. I was scared. Now that I'm more grown and more experienced and know how to deal with life itself, I feel as though this newer project is just going to be lots of fun and lots of love songs. They're basically songs that I've recorded over the past year about my femininity, about my relationship with, my family, about my relationship with God, more spirituality. Also on the side of love, experience who I like and what I like, and a breakup, and knowing who I am as a person and discovering who MAEGAN is. Definitely that's going to be on the album. And I'm going to have, a song about the world and, how we can just take so much on our backs and not give ourselves a break. And it's like my EP about more happiness. I'm in a much better mindset. I'm more happy. And this EP is for others just as much as it was for myself. With Pretty Girl, it was for other people, but mainly it was kind of a therapeutic thing for me to get out of this dark mindset. Ironically, I'm in pink and I look happy on the cover. And
right,
it's called
you have the cherry
Girl.
blossoms behind you.
The cherry blossoms were all behind me, but I was in such a dark space at that time. And it's funny, now I'm putting out darker songs like Eastside. Now I'm in a more positive space mentally. I think it's because I'm open to more experimentation now, I'm okay with swearing if I want to swear. I'm okay. Can I say something like...
Absolutely.
Like, I'm okay with like speaking or talking about sex if I want to talk about sex. I'm okay with reaching points of my femininity that weren't there when I was recording Pretty Girl. I'm okay with all of it, not just some of it. So I think you're going to hear different sides of me. Definitely.
So I think important to note, it would be misrepresenting your musical journey throughout life if we just put this point 2 years ago and say that's where it started. Mm-hmm. In our pre-interview conversation, you said that you basically had the music in you since you came into this world.
Yeah, definitely.
And that you had a very spiritual upbringing in a Pentecostal sect, and have been in this sort of growing process, and the music and the expression and reconnecting with these things about yourself, they seem to be very intertwined. I was curious if you could speak at all about where you are now versus where you came from.
Yeah, so how I grew up, where I came from, the environment was a lot more controlled. And when I say controlled, it was, we all go to a certain place. We all dress similar. We all think the same. And if you question it, then the issue is with you. It's not with anything anybody else is saying. The issue is with you. I respect a lot of the people who have brought me up, because luckily I had parents who wanted me to be an individual. However, now that, I'm in this loving music scene, I could definitely say some of the lessons that I was taught, treating others with kindness, loving everybody, no matter whether or not you disagree with them, I still have within myself. But I'm a lot more open and I'm a lot more perceptive to different walks of life or to different individuals. Growing up in that ultra Pentecostal religious environment, I had to not only unlearn a lot of the things that were taught as facts to me, I had to definitely educate myself and 100% not rely on other people to teach me, because I feel as though, as I say that, I feel as though a lot of individuals who may have grew up conservative or within the church, a lot of the times we might befriend somebody who is not like us and we expect them to just teach us everything, right? As if it's their job to teach us how they are as a person, and they're just being themselves. And
can you give me the user manual, please?
What'd you say?
Can you give me the user manual, please?
Basically, yeah, like the user manual. And it's like, no, you have to do your own work and educate yourself in order to make the space more open. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, ideally you do have, some community that's helping you along the way, and it's not this, strictly speaking, individual enterprise. But at the least, it's a very difficult and a very strong thing to do, to try to set out on your own path and sort of leave what you've taken for granted as being truth, and finding your own ring of truth and things. So.
And being that individual, because I wasn't the only person who grew up in that environment who decided not to follow those ways. Luckily, I had parents who always kind of wanted me to be myself. They might not agree with my current lifestyle choices. However, being your own individual person and coming into fruition for your own self, doing things that truly just make you happy. I'm not trying to, diss any religion or any walk of life. My thing is, I'm just doing what makes me feel happy. I'm not having, this in my nose just because I want to piss off somebody or make people angry. You know what I mean? It's just me being myself. Like, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of times when I talk to people from my past, they think the issue's deeper than it is. They think I have like personal hatred towards somebody, or I had it really hard or something like that, and I need to be reformed. No, I'm literally just being myself. It's not that deep, but...
Where's this chip on your shoulder coming from? There is no chip on my shoulder.
Basically. It's like, what?
Well, what I really appreciate about sort of looking at your musical career from like 8 Miles High is just the openness that you seem to be finding within yourself in this journey. And, I agree. It's not your job to educate anyone else, or for anyone else to educate you, or this, that, and the other, but you can entertain the possibility. And there's hope in that, and I feel like hope is really, on the musical, social, spiritual level, kind of what we need right now, right? It just makes sense for the time.
It does.
To shift gears a little bit, I'm curious what is coming down the pipeline.
What is? So I'm going to be releasing a music video on March 4th, exclusively on Sneak Vibing Blog for about 2 days.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that. In addition, well, I don't even know if I can mention one of the things, so I'm going to keep that shut. So I'm releasing an EP soon, within the next couple of months, hopefully, before my next project, which will hopefully be my album. I'm going to LA the end of March, so that's exciting. Wow. I'm trying to set up some performances out there, so I'm excited for that. And just stay tuned for more. Like, literally, guys, it like happens daily. I mean, you both are musicians, so you guys know, like, sometimes it feels like you have no performances, and other times it's like 5 of them just line up in a row, and it's like, whoa, where the hell did this come from, right?
Oh yeah, totally, all the time. I'm selling out those anti-folk venues. All one of them, it's
no,
it's
oh my god! Hopefully I don't sound like a douchebag when I watch back this interview. Hopefully I don't sound like a douche, but I'm excited. Oh, sorry.
I do find that gigs, whether creative or technical, they always do come in waves, and
they do.
I'm the kind of person,
or like 10, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and I'm the kind of person where, like, in that phase of, like, there's not much going on, I get kind of impatient. I'm like, there's not enough to do. I'm not getting anywhere with my goals. I'm not doing anything cool or interesting or inspiring. And then I'll try to get, like, a bunch of stuff going. And then all of a sudden stuff will, like, happen. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I agreed to too much.
Too much stuff, yeah. I do the same thing. I'm, like, I'm very much a perfectionist when I'm performing, and I'm very much like on it. And I probably should be a little more relaxed, but like that's just my personality. It's probably never going to happen. So I'll just accept who I am, I guess.
How do you deal with the nerves of performance?
So that is such a great question. You know, people ask me all the time, do I get nervous? Like, of course, when I'm first stepping on the stage for like sound check, I get a little like anxiety because, you know, I want to do well and I want to impress people and I want to communicate to people what I want to communicate. Like, I love what I do. So what helps me with nerves is I always drink a nice warm cup of tea before each performance. Ginger turmeric is really good.
Okay.
You know, I
That's
make
great
sure
for
I'm
the vocal
prepared.
cords.
It is, isn't it? Oh my God. If you go to Trader Joe's and get the ginger turmeric tea, tell me, because I'm obsessed with Trader Joe's. But doing that as well as being prepared actually is probably the best when you're nervous, because being unprepared and nervous, being prepared and nervous are two different things. At least when you know your song and you practice and you know what to do, then, you know, you can use those nerves to like enhance your performance. If you haven't memorized your lyrics, if you haven't done shit to practice, then guess what? If you're nervous, it probably is not going to go well. And I've learned both ways. So
That's right. You can always fall back on what you're prepared for. Absolutely.
Yeah, and singing everywhere, not just on stage. Like when I first started, a young girl asked me, how do I like overcome stage fright or like have both the courage to do what I do? I remember I would just sing in grocery stores, you know, just humming while I was shopping. And I remember a lady was like, oh my God, you have such a beautiful voice while I was grocery shopping. I was like, oof, maybe I do got something here, right? So just doing little things like that for yourself really helps your nerves.
That's smart, because it kind of, you know, you teach your brain to be okay with other people hearing your voice.
Yes, 100%.
And it helps break down that like mental block of like, oh man, I suck, you know, and
yeah, 100%.
you make it like a habit. Yeah,
a habit. That's how I overcome stage fright, because I always get annoyed with those interviews of saying there's nothing to help stage fright, nothing ever helps it. That's bullshit. If you can find a way, you can find a way. Don't psych out these young people trying to look up to you, saying there's no way to help this. Like, oh, come on with that crap.
right. Because it's definitely something that with practice can get better. I find that for me personally, if there's a long spell between playing shows, that first gig back, a couple songs in, like, is a little nerve-wracking. But once I play more regularly, like, getting on stage doesn't feel like this, you know, anxious experience, because it's like, okay, like, this is what I do. Oh yeah, I do this. So
yeah, 100%. And you know, it's different for every day, because some days I'm actually very nervous and other days I'm fine. I think more intimate settings scare me, but if it's like a party and a big, I'm fine. But you know, it comes with the territory, I think, and it's a never-ending struggle, right? Never-ending struggle.
Now, well, I'm sure it's something to do with like a stimulus response in the amygdala or something. Who knows? I'm not a neurobiologist. I think most simply, a lot of times what it boils down to is just silencing your inner critic and giving yourself the permission to take up the space and extending that invitation to yourself. And I really like the idea of singing in a grocery store for that, because very often, you know, we go through this life and through this world and well, you know, negative self-talk, I'm not allowed to be visible kind of thing. I think that's a pervasive struggle that people have. So it just makes a lot of sense. Last thing for me, I noticed that, and you had mentioned this in the pre-interview conversation, so I'm glad you did, because I felt smart for picking up on it. I noticed a lot of features of neo-soul in your music, but I wanted a clear sense of what acts and what artists give you inspiration, who, you know, what sort of lineage and tradition is helping to craft the sound that you're putting out right now and helping to sort of guide you on your way?
You know, so many amazing people. I've been listening to lots of like Wilson Pickett, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, even more like rock acts. I think we spoke about like Led Zeppelin, you know, and Black Dog. That song's great. And it's just really, really tuning in and finding that inner soul, and listening to D'Angelo, Angie Stone, so many amazing artists. That's my next step after I release this R&B EP, which is more inspired by like modern day R&B music. I'm gonna take it back and do something that with lots of I'm trying to find the right word. Lots of gusto, or like, something that just makes you feel good and want to get up and dance and holler. That's my next step for my album. And look at Anderson .Paak and like Bruno Mars with Silk Sonic. They kind of like brought back that funk sound, right? So I feel like it's time for somebody to bring back that, that Etta James, or that,
I mean, I know Buffalo, we currently are at the front of the conversation on hip-hop and a lot of R&B, so it's not too much of a jump in logic to think that another kind of revival might happen here.
Yeah, of course. And I love hip-hop. I'm a huge rap fan, actually, a massive rap fan. And I love R&B music, but I feel like with my voice and even with my Jackrabbit performance, the songs that I was really getting into were like the more are like soulful, guitar-driven melodies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess the last question for me, because we're starting to run out of time here. If you were to collab with any artist, local, famous, or otherwise, who would you collab with and why?
Oh my goodness. 100,000% probably Tom Misch. I'm obsessed with that man. If you don't know who Tom Misch is, please look him up. He's a multi-instrumentalist producer. He sings as well, but his compositions are just so amazing. If you want a song to listen to, I love the song Movie. It's really good. All of his songs are good. So he just collaborated with Yusef Days. So yeah, I love Tom Misch.
That sounds like it would be a lot of fun.
It would be. I'd be ecstatic. I would fly to England right away.
Well, I don't know if he's watching in England, but if he does,
but if he
reach
does,
out to
please
her.
Notice me, because I literally love you. I listen to all your albums. Like, please, thank you. I covered 2 of your songs in my live sets. So, yeah.
I think we'll have to tag him and when we post this and see if we can get his attention. I don't know if it'll work, but what the hell?
I don't me either.
It's the internet.
Worth a shot.
Yeah. I'm usually not like desperate at all. However, for him, I am. So.
Well, collaborating is such a fun experience because while it's a little stressful at times because it really pushes you outside of your boundaries, it always, at least in experiences I've witnessed or been a part of, it always sort of opens this like extra part of the brain that you didn't know was there, where you're like, oh my goodness, like I never thought to do these things, but now these ideas make so much sense, and it puts a few more tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I need to get more into the collaboration side of things. I try to be selective because I don't want to say I've gotten into drama within the music community in Buffalo.
You've gotten into drama in this scene?
Drama
what?
in Buffalo?
How?
We don't have any.
Y'all are funny. But like, I've been more selective ever since. I don't know, it's kind of sad because when I was like irrelevant, like I got into no drama at all. But as soon as I started making a name for myself, that's when people who I thought were my friends like just started insulting me out the gate. Like I'm arrogant, that I need more vocal training because it's not going to cut it and all this stuff. But that one wasn't like, he said it worse than that because I don't want this person might be watching and I don't want him to be texting me about stuff. But I gotten a lot more, of the brunt when I was actually doing the gigs or doing the work. But when I wasn't doing shit, I didn't get any type of hate or anything. So to be honest with you, I have such a close group of friends. And I know so many amazing musicians in the city that I focus more on that than the negative. Obviously, we're human beings. Sometimes when people piss you off or there's negative things, you're going to be like, oh my God, why the fuck would they do that? Trust me, I've done that plenty of times. However, just focusing on what I do best, and that's making people dance and making people happy. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
Well, keep it up, and we're gonna look out for more of your stuff. Devin, did you have one last thing?
Nah.
Okay.
Why stir the pot on drama?
The drama alert.
Maybe next time we interview you, we'll see if we can spill a little tea. How's that sound?
Spill the tea.
We're gonna pitch an edition of this to TMZ. It'll be great.
Now screw them. They don't get any of the good stuff.
Yeah, like, to be honest with you, I'm just so blessed that, like, I feel as though it's above me. That's how I feel. I never really get into it with people anymore because it's above me, you know. A lot of times with that person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good way to approach it, because rather than, because if you engage in the drama, it just drags it out. And if you just say, what, I'm going to move beyond this, it suddenly fades into the past.
100%. And I feel as though I found some really good people to collaborate with, who I love working with. And I'm going to stick with those people, and I'm going to reach out to those who I genuinely feel that we could help each other and help create more beauty within the small music community we have in Buffalo. But I'm just so elated and thankful for the love I've been given and the positivity I've been given over the years. It's great.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. With that, I'm Mike Shamil.
And I'm Devin Mullen.
And our guest today was Megan. Megan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now we're going out to the mountain, and we gon' stay here, and we gon' stay here, yeah, and we gon' stay here, and I'm gonna stay in this bed. I know what's going on.